travellers described their anguish on a turbulent flight. Witnesses on a Singapore Airlines flight have described moments of absolute terror as strong turbulence threw people and objects across the cabin. When the London-Singapore flight had an abrupt descent while a meal service was in progress. Over 30 individuals were hurt, and a 73-year-old British man died from what appeared to be a heart attack. The initial moments of the tragedy were characterised by awful screaming and what sounded like a thud, according to British Andrew Davis. Seeing objects and stuff soar in the air is what I remember the most. I had coffee all over me. He told the BBC that the turbulence was really strong. An additional passenger said that the plane began tilting up and shaking out of nowhere. Student Zafran Azmir, 28, told Reuters, "I started bracing for what was happening, and very suddenly there was a very dramatic drop, so everyone seated and not wearing a seatbelt was launched immediately into the ceiling. Some people hit their heads on the baggage cabins overhead and dented it. They hit the places where lights and masks are and broke straight through it," he stated. Following the mid-air mishap, the Boeing 777-300ER, headed for Singapore, was forced to make an emergency landing in Bangkok at 15:45 local time, 8:45 GMT, carrying about 211 passengers and 18 crew members. Singapore Airlines reported that 31 passengers were sent to the hospital and sent their sincere sympathies to the relatives of the deceased, who has not yet been identified. About 10 hours into the flight, the aircraft experienced sudden extreme turbulence over the Irrawaddy Basin in Myanmar, according to an airline official. The business announced that it was sending a team to Bangkok to provide any further support required, and that it was collaborating with Thai authorities to provide medical assistance to passengers. Those who were standing performed somersaults. Additionally, Singapore Airlines disclosed the nationalities of the passengers. 47 of them were from the UK. Josh, Alison Barker's son, texted her when they were flying to Bali, saying, "I don't want to scare you, but I'm on a crazy flight. A forced landing is being performed by the aircraft. I cherish each and every one of you." It was petrifying that she didn't hear from him for 2 hours after receiving that message. One minute he was just sitting down wearing a seatbelt, the next minute he must have blacked out because he found himself on the floor with other people, she stated to the BBC. Josh, she claimed, only had minor wounds, but she worries that his near-death experience would have an ongoing effect on him. Jerry, a 68-year-old Brit, was on his way to Australia for his son's wedding. He said that the plane plunged without any prior notice. "I hit my head on the ceiling, my wife did. Some poor people who were walking around ended up doing somersaults," he said. A British guy who suffered a neck injury remarked that, luckily enough, none of his family members had passed away. "There was absolutely no turbulence at all, and then I was hitting the roof. I wasn't up like that at all." 2 rows behind me, my son was flung to the ground. Speaking from a Thai hospital, he stated, "I heard that there was a person hitting the roof in the restroom, and he was injured fairly badly too." According to Singapore's Transport Minister Chee Hong Tat, the government would help the travellers and their families. He wrote on Facebook, "I am deeply saddened to learn about the incident on board Singapore Airlines Flight SQ321 from London Heathrow to Singapore. Although flying through clouds is the most common cause of turbulence, clear air turbulence can also occur and is invisible to a jet's weather radar. According to aviation expert John Strickland, injuries resulting from extreme turbulence are comparatively uncommon, given the millions of flights that have been conducted. However, severe turbulence can be dramatic and lead to severe injuries, or sadly in this case, a fatality. According to him, flight crews receive training on how to handle turbulence as well. It is not for nothing that airlines recommend keeping seatbelts loosely fastened throughout a flight, be it long or short, he stated. According to aviation journalist Sally Gethin, fastening a seatbelt could be the Difference between life and death, because anything that isn't fastened down puts it at danger during violent turbulence. Studies have indicated that the likelihood of severe turbulence in the future would increase due to climate change.